Welcome to the Heritage Sports Podcast. We're giving you a little nightcap on Christmas. Hopefully, everybody's got their gifts. Everything's winding down. You can listen to something on YouTube and listen to us. We are going to go over the college football playoffs. We're going to give you the spreads and our predictions on who is going to win the game. Let's get right into it. I want to talk Michigan and TCU first. Michigan is basically a touchdown favorite at 7.5 points. The game is in Phoenix. I expect Michigan fans to travel well. I don't know so much about TCU being like half and half. I think TCU has, it's in Fort Worth. I've seen their campus. It's a great facility, but it's not as big as Michigan. It doesn't have the same alumni base. So I assume it'll be more Michigan fans there. Starting with Michigan, overall, their defense is unbelievably solid. They've carried much of the water this year for the Wolverines. I will say they're a second half team, so I don't expect a lot of points to be scored by them, like not a lot in the first half. Their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, is really reliable. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to play smart. I think he's a little bit better than the game manager, but I don't expect him to put the ball up and go and have all these turnovers. They love the play action. I think that's going to be established, meaning Michigan, I'm going to look for them to run a lot against TCU. TCU is not as big on the defensive line as Michigan's offensive line, so I expect them to run the ball. And when they do take shots, it's going to be basically the play action type of stuff. It's going to be high percentage throws. It's not going to be anything difficult because they don't. Jim Harbaugh does not put his quarterback in a bad position, especially with him and his background as a quarterback. Now let's get to TCU. All right, for TCU to win, the Heisman finalist Max Duggan has to be special again, even more special than he's been. Passing, but especially running the ball. Passing, wide receiver Quentin Johnston, who's been there, they're constant all year. He has to win the ball when it's in the air. It's going to be tough because Michigan DBs are really, really solid. Like I was telling you all, in order for them to win, they're going to have to go for it on fourth down. So they're going to have to be a little bit more unconventional and take more risk. If they're on the Michigan side of the field, to me, they're gonna have to go for it on fourth down if it's close. The fourth and ones, the fourth and threes, anything outside of that, I get it. You gotta play smarter, try to punt or kick a field goal. But they're gonna have to take more risk, and I think they know that. Trick plays as well. Look, my defensive coordinator was saying college, when a team uses trick plays, they're not as good as the team they're playing. And that's true. I think that's unbelievably true here. They are not as good as Michigan, so I expect trick plays out of TCU, whether on fake punts, onside kicks, stuff like that, where you'll see double reverse pass. TCU has done that a little bit, but that's what's going to be needed. Turnovers. They're going to have to try to get the ball from Michigan. Any fumble, they need to get it. Any fumble that on the ground, that is their money. They need to go get their money. If the ball's in the air, they need to go get their money. That's the only way it's going to work. That's the only way they're going to win. And the last thing is special teams. For TCU is Darius Davis. He has to be able to flip the field. He's a great returner. He's had a lot of highlights. That's how they're going to have to win. TCU has won all season by the skin of their teeth on some of these games. And if they win, it's the only way. Like, it'll be a very close game against Michigan if they're going to be able to win. They're going to have to win by the skin of their teeth, and that's how they're accustomed to winning. Lucky for them, but everything has to go according to plan. They got to do those things, but I don't think that's going to happen. If Michigan avoids, giving up those trick plays and turning the ball over, I think they win handily. They are, bigger team. They have a whole lot more athletes on the field. I mean, it is what it is. TCU is a great college, but they don't have 4-star, 5-star people all over the field. They just don't. I think Michigan does. They have. I think TCU has overachieved, and being there, they just have. Nobody expected this out of their team this year, and that's great. But if Michigan plays their normal standard level, I think they win, and I think they cover the spread at 7.7.5. I think Michigan wins 31-10, and then they will play the winner of a very, very, very highly talked about and contested game, Georgia versus Ohio State. Georgia is 6.5 favorites. They are playing in Atlanta. This game is going to be in Atlanta, so it's not going to be a far drive. So even with that being said, I don't think it's going to be an advantage. Excuse me, Ohio State fans travel really well too. Very, very big fan base. I would definitely plan to see a lot of Ohio State fans in the Georgia stadium. So I think it's going to be pretty much what and what. I think Georgia is going to be dominant. They have been dominant throughout the year, except the near end of the season. They were struggling against University of Kentucky and Georgia Tech. They returned to form against LSU, and I think they needed that wake up call. I really did. Stetson Bennett's just old, has to continue to do what he's done all year, manage the game. And I'm sorry, I got to go off on the side note. College football needs an age limit. He's like 26. Like, bro, you need go work in the insurance industry, okay? At this point, if you wanted to give me, I think I get it. He's a super senior, but anyone over 24, I feel, should have to apply for an exception, and it has to be on a case by case basis. It's an advantage. He's playing against younger kids, and he's not an amateur in my eyes. He can easily be in the NFL. Lamar Jackson's played, 5 years in the NFL, and they're the same age. It's unbelievable. So anyway, I don't think Georgia's offense is built to play from behind. I think that's going to be a weakness of theirs. They go down by 10, they're in trouble. Any team capable of going up 10 is Ohio State. So I think they are in trouble. Ohio State has a very explosive offense. Let's look at the games. They are 11-1 on the season. And out of those 12 games, they scored over 40 points in 10 out of those 12 games. That's crazy. Now, can Georgia score over 40? I don't know about that. CJ Stroud will break runs and they will score. I mean, they only lost one game. They're a really, really good team. Marvin Harrison Jr. will be there. He'll make those third down catches and clutch catches. Ohio State has the personnel, by the way, to match Georgia's lines, offensive and defensive. I'm not saying they're better, but they can match up. And so it's not a given that Georgia's just going to outpower them or manhandle that team. I don't see that. So I don't think Stetson can just manage the game. He's a known game manager. I do not think Georgia's going to be able to run or keep OSU from scoring. So he's going to have to be more than just a game manager. And you know what? I'm going to go with OSU. And it's not going to be an upset. Like I said, the crowd's not going to be a factor. I think OSU is going to travel well. Buckeye Nation's going to be all up in there. And they're going to be hoping Michigan wins. It wouldn't be an upset. I just don't see it. I would bet the money line, though, just to be safe and not the spread. I think, I really think it's going to be a close game. So just in case either way, I would just bet the money line. It might be a close game, but I still think Ohio State wins. And I know they scored over 40, but I think, it's going to be a different kind of game, a little bit lower scoring. But it's still going to be high. I think it's going to be 37-34. Ohio State beats University of Georgia. And I just don't see it. If they're explosive and they have their big plays, and I don't know if Georgia's going to be able to take away Ohio State's big plays because nobody has for most of the year. I mean, some games were duds with Ohio State, but for the most part, they scored. I mean, that is a lot of games to score over 40 points, and they only got a loss to the team that's in the college football playoffs, which is Michigan. They could have easily won that game, and then they would have been number one. So I think Georgia's going to have their hands full, and they're going to need that game maker type of quarterback, and I don't think they have it in the 29-year-old Stetson Bennett, but we'll see. Y'all out there, let me know what y'all think. After this, of course, we're going to do the breakdown of the national championship game once the teams are sorted out. But I really think it's going to be Michigan versus Ohio State for it all, and that is going to be a wild, wild game. It's going to be a lot of, talk between the fan bases if that happens. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy it. Please let me know what y'all think in the comments, and we'll see. We shall see. Heritage Sports Podcast.